lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of the people who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to the following: Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvault, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin', Jeronism, Joshua, Kirsten, Life Is Short, Matt, Michael, Paige, Qatar Craig, Reinhardt, Rennie, new Patreon, let's get your name right, Sally Ballis. Hope I've said that correctly, Sally. Thanks for joining us on Patreon. Really do appreciate your support. Also, Sam Hine, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, Tina Baker, and Tom Perkins. So big shout outs to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now, we are joined by Flatzoid and quite a few people in the Discord server, so I'll raise the mic on both of them. You can enjoy their dulcet tones while we set up for the first live show. Hello, Flatzoid.
Oh, hello. Good afternoon, everyone else.
Morning.
So, as is usually the case on a Monday, got a few technical issues with the Hangout. Apparently, a few people can't join. I'm not showing up in there at all, even though I'm obviously in there. So, very weird, but there we go. Hopefully, that'll be resolved by tomorrow. We do have a Discord server.
You're a ghost.
Yes, indeed. Not always the case, though, so hopefully it'll be resolved by tomorrow, as these things usually do. Work themselves out, that is.
Yep. So how was the weekend?
That's right. I went to the... I don't even want to call it Kidderminster, because it wasn't in Kidderminster. My wife's from Kidderminster, so I know that area really well, and it wasn't in that area. Nevertheless, the Flat Earth Convention in Kidderminster, or I think it was called the Flat Earth UK Globe Lie Tour Convention. I think that's correct. Nevertheless, yeah, it was very good. I stayed on the Saturday and watched Martin Liedtke, Paul on the Plane, and Sleeping Warrior do their bits. And yeah, it was very good.
Cool. Yeah, so Renty was quite pasted.
Yeah, Ranty was down there as well, so got to meet Ranty for the first time. I'd never actually shook his hand before now, which was nice. Same with Mark Sargent. I'd never actually been in Mark Sargent's company before, so that was very nice. Sat down, had some food with him.
Also, Anthony was very happy to be able to see Mark Sargent. He's always wanted to meet him.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Yeah, Mark Sargent's cool. I've always thought he's a good guy. Interesting chatting to some of the people there, and, you know, they would explain how, or at least one guy specifically explained to me how, you know, he was always put off Mark Sargent basically because Eric Debay told him to be put off by him. I'm like, wouldn't it be more pertinent to concern yourself with the people telling you not to be interested in others? Isn't that more telling? But there we go. Clearly that type of ploy obviously works. Not that I should be shocked at that, but you know, literally your guy you look up to on YouTube says, this other guy's a shill, don't go and watch him. And you go, yes, this guy tells me he is a shill, so I won't watch him. I'd be more suspicious of the fact that he's telling you others are shills, but there we go. That's just me.
Yeah, it's actually a sad reality. I mean, you can see for yourself who is the show and who isn't actually, but yeah.
Yeah, the conference itself was good. I think I went on a good day, because obviously the following day Mark Sargent was there and he did his bit, which is excellent. But I know Mark Sargent's bit kind of inside out and back to front by now. You know, I've watched him plenty of times. I've even interviewed him a few times. So, but although I know what Sleeping Warrior had to say, he had a pretty new presentation to present. He hasn't presented it in that format before, so it was new to me. Same with Martin. There was lots of new information that I got out of him. Although he said he'd have a 2-hour presentation, and knowing full well I could only get an hour of live streaming out of my phone battery, I asked him, which half do you want me to do? Which is, would you say it'd be better to catch the start or the conclusion? And he was like, no, catch the second hour. That's really good. So I was like, okay. So started recording about an hour in, and then he misheard the guy say you've got 60 minutes left. I think he must have heard 16. And just rattled through the last bit of his presentation. So I got about 15, 20 minutes of Martin. I probably could have squeezed the entire thing onto the onto my phone battery, but that was a bit of a shame. But it was good in terms of diversity. So you've got Martin covering symbolism, Anthony being really specific in law, and Paul on the plane covering, in quotes, photography from NASA. So, you know, it was a very varied group of people on that day's presentations stand, so it was good. I really enjoyed it. Shout out to Robin.
I downloaded it, so I'm going to watch it later. All those presentations on your site, on your channel.
Yeah, it's never going to be ideal. Obviously, it's filmed with a mobile phone on the fly, live streamed there and then, so I'm dependent on the lighting and various other things. That said, I watched both Adam's and Paul's, and I know my phone's fair few years old now, but you could hardly see anything on mine. It was so dark, and it was like that in there. It was incredibly dark, but I'm just Adam and Paul on the plane both managed to actually see the people in their videos, and I couldn't, which is kind of annoying to me. I think I need a new phone.
Hi, Paul.
You could hear them just about for the majority of the video. Hello, Paul.
Well, it sounds like you had a good time at the conference.
Yeah, it was right.
I tried to watch some of it. Oops, sorry, I tried to watch some of it, but it is hard to hear and listen. It's hard to pick up what's been said.
Yeah, it's totally crap audio. Like I said, that's why I was kind of just making that disclaimer. You know, it's going to be shoddy, isn't it? Because it's done on the fly on a mobile phone. So it's not going to be ideal, but it was good enough. Just about.
At least it's recorded for posterity.
Right. Or at least a good chunk of it. No, it was good floating around, just generally chit-chatting with people that, you know, it was interesting when they come up to you and know your name and you haven't got the vaguest clue who they are, and you ask them and they tell you and chit-chat for a while. It was lovely.
So when is the Amsterdam thing?
It's in... Is it next week? I think it might be next week. I think it's the weekend of the 27th. Hey, 10th man, by the way. Sorry you couldn't get in on Google. Maybe he's not there.
I'm here on Discord.
Hello. Hopefully it'll resolve itself. This happens every now and again for you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it won't be a long problem.
Or I could just get a PC, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I don't like it. I don't like Apple phones. Of course, Lily decides to say something.
Well, it's good that you're on.
Yeah, I watched some of the highlights of the conference. Seemed like everybody was having a good time.
It looks like Don's having audio issues. Can't hear him.
Yeah, it doesn't stop him from texting ridiculous statements, though.
Oh,
Maybe you should just believe harder. It will work.
Good morning.
Hey, Chocolate.
Morning, Chocolate.
What's up, guys?
Hi.
Morning, good morning, all. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
It's damn hot here.
So it's hot.
Yeah, very hot today.
you guys' summer is just kind of starting now, right?
Yeah, it's already like 35 degrees Celsius today, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're getting not quite that high, but you know,
35
decent
degrees,
temperatures here as well.
That's
It's
cold.
getting decent temperatures here too. So you know, obviously it's the end of our
The
summer, beginning of
convention,
yours.
Nathan.
Say again, chocolate.
How was the convention?
Very good.
Cool.
They should have invited you to speak and talk about the scientific method.
They asked me to come and debate with somebody, but it just didn't come off in the end. Same with Amsterdam.
Yeah, I think you scared them off.
Maybe. Not that I'm particularly fussed. You know, it means I get to go and actually enjoy the experience rather than worrying about doing a presentation of some description or a debate of some description. So I'm not complaining.
Hello.
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 Oh, it works now.
Yes, we can hear you, Don.
Hi.
Hello?
I was going to ask what Riley presented at the conference.
You watch it?
No.
Okay. Go and watch it. I filmed it.
Oh, you don't want to just tell me?
He's not here, I'm afraid. Although we'll be announcing some news regarding Anthony once we go live.
Yeah, and I mean, it is over an hour long, so.
How did he feel the interview with the Sun went?
I don't think I actually asked him. I asked Adam Meakin how he felt it went because he filmed it. No, I don't think I actually asked Anthony how his Sun interview went, although I did add it to the playlist. So I had a couple of videos from Adam, Paul on the Plains video of Mark Sargent, and then the three that I saw, so Sleeping Warrior, Martin Leaker, and Paul on the Plain himself. So they're all on a playlist now called Flat Earth UK Conference 2019. On the question now. What was the question? Oh, the Sun interview. Yeah, I didn't ask, but you know, from what I could see, it went very well. Obviously, it was slightly contentious because in his presentation, he's talking about the Hillsborough disaster, you know, and making a comparison to, you know, using it to demonstrate cause and effect and gas pressure without a container, or in that case, with a container. But he used that, and it's the Sun that, you know, had front page descriptions of Liverpool fans pissing on the dead and things like that. Just obscene lies that they had to retract. But, you know, there he is talking about that very subject. Just by coincidence, he didn't know. You know, Anthony contacted, Sleeping Warrior contacted me to say, should I still talk about this? I've just found out the Sun are going to be there. And I was like, yeah, of course, that's part of your presentation. You don't just change it because there's a certain journalist there. That's their problem, not yours.
So, Nathan, why did he use the Hillsborough disaster in his presentation about gas pressure?
Because he's doing, as you're probably aware, a course that's law. It's related to his journey through law, and that was one of the sort of trigger moments for him in terms of his studies in that area. So that's why.
Of waking up, he's drawing a conclusion of conspiracy rather than. I mean, he's linked them through conspiracy, not through
what
science.
He said that when he realized that the nonsense that got printed in the paper was nonsense,
right,
that's when he had a problem with it. So, yeah.
Right. Just because you told it in the papers doesn't make it true. That's his point. His main overriding point. He's drawing other comparisons along the way. It's like I say, it's an hour and a half presentation.
It's not the papers that tell us gas pressure doesn't need a container.
No, I don't think that's the point, Don. I think since you've said in the past you need an official source to tell you something before you believe it, I think Riley was saying, here's an official source, a newspaper was supposed to report the truth, and they didn't. They lied.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I think that's the reference he's saying. So
at first I thought you were going to say that was using that as an analogy, like the people spreading like the gas to the edges of the
Well, rather than
football,
just making up
football
what he said, Dawn, why
container.
don't you go and watch it, rather than just having a little guess of what he might have said and how his comparisons were drawn.
Okay.
Really good.
I was also going to ask, what did Martin mention? What happened to his channel? Is he starting a new one, or?
He's already got a second channel. I mean, there are... oh, speak of the devil. So, Ranty has made efforts to actually maybe force YouTube's hand. Hey, Ranty.
Hiya, you alright?
Okay.
Hello.
So yes,
I
he
think
did.
that's good.
He
That's a
discussed
good move.
Although I didn't get to film that bit. Yes, he did discuss it at the beginning of his presentation. I believe Adam from Iron Realm Media did actually catch that.
It's absurd what YouTube let happen to his channel. Like,
Well, he was duped into giving up his password.
But, I mean, he should be able to contact YouTube. They should be able to just give it
He
back.
has. He has.
Okay, good.
Was it taken over by some Chinese company or something? Because
Or-
the other day I had a bunch of Chinese videos popping up on my YouTube, and I'm like, what the hell is this? When I went to it, it said something like Flat Earth British or something, and I was just like, this doesn't look like his videos, so I'm not sure what this is about. But all of a sudden, my YouTube was filled with Chinese videos, and I was just like, I don't know what this is.
Ding chong, huh?
So I'm gonna assume that it was something about that, because that was crazy.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Ranty Flat Earth, Chocolate Sane, Paul, Flatzoid, and 10th Man, along with a whole bunch of other people on Discord. So welcome one and all.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, hello, hello, hello. So first and foremost, a bit of an announcement. So Sleeping Warrior is currently on his way up to the university he is in attendance at to hand in his paper. That was a crowd-funded paper to get him onto a course to submit, if you like, through the back door, a challenge to the Copernican model. And I'm about 60% of the way reading through his final paper, although I've read several drafts up until now, and it's exceptional. So it's taken a massive step from the last time I read it in terms of its sort of spit and polish and overall content quality, how it flows, the references. Excellent paper. If you get a chance to get your hands on it, I would definitely suggest you read it. It's 33 pages long. just FYI, 33 pages. I saw that. I was like, 33 pages? Oh yeah. Why that number? Just coincidence, I'm sure.
Where do we
I'm
find
gonna
it?
ask him for it.
I don't know how he's going to release it, Dawn. But yeah, I'm sure, contact Sleeping Warrior in that regard. I'm sure he will make it available once it's been submitted. But obviously, he's literally in the car on the way as we speak to his university. So when he gets up there, he'll drop it off with whoever his tutor is. It'll then get submitted and reviewed, and presumably watch this space. We'll find out exactly what's going on. in that regard.
He'll
So
hand
just
it
thought
in
I'd
at
let you know.
3:30 p.m.
Again? Say again?
He'll hand it in at 3:30 p.m. The 33-page paper.
He only told me the deadline, so he said the deadline's 5 p.m. today to get the paper handed in, so presumably before then. Yeah, that's it. Just thought I'd give that little announcement. So, any signs of Earth curvature?
Still flat in South Africa.
Not from California.
Well, the Globers always claim that there's curvature. So is there anybody in Discord that can show us this?
The only thing I've seen since we all last spoke is full moon, and it did go down. But obviously, that isn't Earth curvature itself.
No.
There's no curvature here in North Carolina that we can find.
That's perspective.
You're a bit quiet, Babs. Can you say that again? I just heard
Perspective.
Perspective. Right. Any signs of... Go on, Dawn. Go, feel free.
I was just saying perspective. Perspective is a different thing.
Optics is perspective. It's not a flat thing. It's reality.
Whenever there's a damaging argument we have against your rhetoric, it has the word flurf attached to the beginning of it. There was a new one. Flurf Aureolus.
Perspective isn't...
I was in the middle of talking, Dawn. Sorry.
Argument.
Sorry, Dawn. My bad for talking while you wanted to start talking. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Whenever there's a argument. That means shut the fuck up, Dawn, you little bastard. I'm not going to jokingly say, oh, my bad for talking when you've decided you need to start talking. Shut your fucking rude mouth, you little prick. What's your malfunction? Weren't you educated by your parents? What, didn't they teach you not to start talking when someone's in the middle of a sentence? Yeah? You degenerate little shit. Go and grow some manners, you little bastard. Shut your mouth while I talk, Dawn. Is that clear? So it seems whenever we have a damaging argument against these fundamentalist religious zealots who think they live on a ball in a vacuum, they add the word flurf to the beginning of the damaging argument. So we point out there is no Earth-based Coriolis, we don't observe any deviation, and now it's got the strapline flurf Aureolus. What, because we absolutely rip your religion to pieces with this garbage assertion we see deviation, so suddenly adding the word flurf makes it a little bit more friendly for you fundies, right? Makes it seem like you can ignore it because you add the word flurf to the beginning of it? Yeah, perspective, Dawn, that's right, not flurf-spective. Perspective is real and entirely hijacked by your mathematics, which put the world into an orthographic review and ignore all aspects of perspective. Now, that's not you ignoring flurspective, it's you ignoring reality, actual perspective. Adding the strap flurf to it doesn't make it less painful for fundies who ignore perspective. That's a fact. Over.
Flurspective and perspective are different things. That's why I made the distinction.
Oh, right. Tell us what perspective is, and then tell us what flurspective is. Go.
Perspective is a drawing technique and a way of seeing things, the depth of things. It talks about vanishing points and stuff getting smaller towards the vanishing point. It's usually used as a drawing technique.
Yeah, that's the second time you've said that. I heard you the first time. Anything more on perspective, Dawn?
No, that's it.
And what's flurspective?
Flurspective is a made-up version of perspective that makes the bottom of things disappear as if they're going behind a flat surface, even when they're not. They're just going away from you on a flat surface.
That's also totally perspective.
Phenomenon.
That's perspective as
Can
well.
I jump in, yeah?
Sorry, that's an aspect of... Sorry, that's an aspect of perspective, Dawn.
It's a made-up version of perspective. That's why we call it flurspective.
No, it's called you can calculate it. It's called the Rayleigh criterion. Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard it before.
Oh, right. So where you think it's perspective, it's actually just an aspect of perspective. You are wrong.
Can you show us where
That's
this flat surface is?
Whether you like it or not, we call it flurspective.
Wait.
Yeah, because you like.
Can you show us where this flat surface is that you keep talking about?
Perspective.
Sure.
Ranty.
Done.
The
Dawn, can you tell me where this flat surface is that
I'm
you
not
keep
saying there is
referencing?
one.
Sorry?
The flat surface is in your imagination. I'm not saying there is one.
Don't.
No, I want you to tell me where there's a flat surface in reality.
What about a long swimming pool?
Yeah, you don't see curvature over that distance, would you now?
No,
So tell me
we
where
can
there's
use
a
that,
flat
can't we?
surface in reality. Tell me where there's a flat surface. Are you going to reference like oceans and seas and stuff like that?
A long
You're going to tell me
swimming
they're
pool.
flat?
We're going to use the long swimming pool for this thought experiment.
No, we're not.
At rest. Long swimming
Tell me
pool
where
at rest.
you find in nature a flat surface.
Hello.
I am. That's my answer. Long swimming pool.
That's not nature. It's no, a long swimming pool is man-made.
Hello.
Tell me in nature where you can find this.
It's in nature.
Tell me where you can find this flat surface. Tell me where there's a flat surface.
Okay. What about a puddle?
I give in.
Bolivian salt flat.
Sorry, he's asking you in reference to Earth curvature, Dawn. Do you think a puddle's going to satisfy that?
I don't know what he's asking, Nathan. It's some kind of weird trick ranty question.
Okay, well, I'll try and clarify for you, Dawn. So you're talking about things disappearing behind the vanishing point. And he's saying, where's this flat surface? And you're saying, a puddle.
So what flat surface is he asking for? What does he want me
the
to
one
say
that you're referring to. You described the flat surface. Dawn. Dawn. You described taking pictures over a flat surface with stuff disappearing. That was your example. Now he's asking you to qualify your example.
Okay. Nathan's bit of grass outside the front of Nathan's house with the DVD cases. That's my bit of flat ground that we're gonna use for this perspective.
It's never claimed to be flat.
Example.
It's not flat. I've never claimed it was so. What are you on about?
You still did a perspective experiment.
So what you're saying is you're gonna
every time you speak.
It's going to misrepresent. Nobody claimed that to be flat, but you're saying that's what your example of this being flat that you say perspective is, when in reality it's an aspect of perspective. So your false equivalence has come from something that's not declared to be flat in the first place. That's useless.
Should we use Jose's Mall shopping centre floor instead?
Do whatever you want. It's your example.
Well, Ranty hasn't been happy with the first two, so
it's your example.
Yeah, well, I'm not happy with it, to be fair, because again, it's a man-made thing. I want to know in nature where there's a flat surface. A long flat surface, something maybe 3-4 miles long, something that you can actually envisage something going over the curvature. Show me where this flat surface is.
This is a trick question. Flat surface that we can imagine something going over the curvature. This is a contradiction.
Not a trick question.
I love it. Isn't that a contradiction? Yeah. It's amazing you should say that, Dawn. You can't have a level curve. That's correct.
Well, he said we should have a flat surface with curvature.
Yeah, so he's saying, regardless of topology and relief, the surface area that will drain water, for example, or trees, or mountains, or hills, what's this naturally flat area that you're using in your example of perspective when falsely comparing it to actual perspective?
Oh, I don't use any flat surface myself for perspective. I've just seen you guys do it.
Oh, right. So you just misrepresent us.
No, I'm telling you what perspective is, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not, though, is it? It's an aspect of perspective. We've just explained that to you. Did you go and Google the Rayleigh criterion, by any chance?
It's a made-up version of perspective.
Did you Google the Rayleigh criterion, Dawn? Did you Google search what it was? Just to check that this baseless assertion that perspective is something we make up with this aspect that you're describing, when in reality, no, it's actually an aspect of perspective that you can calculate with the Rayleigh criterion. Have you looked that up? Or are you just going to circle jerk back to perspective is this aspect that we are now detailing to you and you haven't looked up? Because that's just being a circle jerker, isn't it?
It's a made-up version of perspective to explain.
So you're a circle jerker and an asshole. So, no, we've told you what the aspect of perspective you're detailing is, but you just keep asserting that it's not. It's something we've made up when it is not. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a stone-cold silence from a fundy whose argument has just fallen on its ass.
Well, I majored in
Sorry.
art, and I can tell you perspective is as real as the reality you see now.
I know
There's a
perspective is
difference.
real.
Even when you
Perspective is-
draw paint, you can draw curvature in.
Yeah,
But when
he's
it
saying,
comes to perspective, it's what we see in reality, believe me.
he's saying perspective is real, but an aspect of perspective, the point that things vanish due to angular limitation calculable in the Rayleigh criterion, that's not real and made up by us and perspective. That's his position. He's
That's
just
not,
an idiot.
That's not bottom first obstruction, Nathan. That's angular resolution.
Sorry,
So
Don?
you're saying it's not curve, it is perspective then?
What's vanishing
No, dude,
mean? In this perspective?
Completely
so it's not
Sorry,
curvature.
Don. What's vanishing mean? You said there was a vanishing point in perspective. Then you went on to compare it to perspective, where stuff, let me get it straight, disappears? Correct?
So, you know there's a difference. I'm talking about bottom first obstruction on a flat surface, as you claim, in flat Earth. And I'm talking vanishing point in the normal definition of perspective.
So you're talking in perspective about a point that stuff vanishes, but in perspective about the vanishing point?
No, you're doing weird semantics again.
What? No, I'm pointing out that they're one and the same thing. The point that stuff vanishes in your description of Flurf perspective is the same as the point that stuff vanishes. The vanishing point!
No, it's not.
Oh, no, it's not. Hand wave dismissal won't win you this argument. Yeah, they're one and the same thing. You're just stupid. You have no idea what the Rayleigh criterion or the diffraction limit is, but yet you'll tell us that it's something we've made up. Yep. Okay. So I don't want to talk to Dawn anymore because he is a wanker.
Really?
We haven't made it up. You are a wanker.
Yep.
Honestly, I think the globe that doesn't exist cries every time Dawn speaks. it's just ridiculous.
Don, I just posted a picture on Discord.
Any globers with like brain cells that want
right now?
I don't know what it is about chocolate, but I don't know if you can hear when people are talking chocolate, because you will just often talk straight over the top of somebody when they're in mid-sentence. I don't think it's intentional.
Yeah, you're rumpusing the hell out of me, chocolate.
It's not. It is chocolate, but I don't think it's just.
No, I'm not trying to.
Yeah, I don't think he is. Go ahead, Babs.
I know. Yo, Don, I just posted a. Oh, he's muted himself.
No, I removed him from the conversation, having had him admit that he doesn't understand any of this stuff, but is still content to circle jerk indefinitely around saying we've made it up when we haven't. So it's no point talking to him.
I might as well take this moment to jump in then. Are we still doing housekeeping?
We are. But
yeah?
Feel free.
Okay. Right, so I heard the Ballers talking about this last week, and I'd actually had this conversation with Kosho like a long time ago. This has to do with Coriolis and the effects it has on a sniper shooting from the south to the north.
Okay, so it's a housekeeping question addressed anyway. Any signs of axial rotation? Go ahead, Babs.
Right. Okay, so we agree that the Earth has latitude lines, right? Each of varying sizes.
No, they are conceptual. So no, Earth doesn't have latitude lines. They are just a concept. Based on a sphere.
Concept.
Yep.
Are you willing to beg the question with me?
Sure. Go ahead.
Let's beg the question just for a moment, right? Okay. So each of these latitude lines are of varying sizes. They get smaller the closer you get to the north or the south, just based on the globe model. So what they were arguing is that when a bullet is fired from a sniper rifle and it's traveling in a northbound direction, that bullet is going to appear to deviate because it's traveling in a straight line and it's also maintaining the tangential velocity of the latitude of the shooter, like where the shooter is standing. But as that bullet travels, it's going to encounter different latitudes that are moving at slower speeds the closer you get to the north. And that is what is going to cause that apparent deviation or deflection.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand their argument. What's the cause of the deviation?
So, what's the cause of the deviation?
Yeah, why does it deviate? Is it because, I'll say it nice and slow, the Earth rotates underneath and then in parentheses at different speeds at different latitudes?
Correct.
Right? So the Earth rotates underneath this plane then at different speeds at different latitudes?
No, not exactly.
No.
And bear in mind that these hang on, bear in mind these aren't my arguments. This is just what the ballers are saying.
It's all right. You can try and wrap your head around the double speak forum, Babs. That's no problem.
Right. As far as the plane is concerned, let's use a helicopter in this example. The helicopter, when it's on the ground, it's still moving at the same tangential velocity that Earth is rotating. However, when that helicopter takes off, it still maintains a tangential velocity. Just like when you're in a moving vehicle and you toss a tennis ball like through the sunroof and it's no longer in the vehicle, it still has that vehicle's velocity in a straight line. So it's going to continue to move until it slows down by encountering air resistance and stops.
And that would be applicable because Earth's a closed system, correct?
I'm not going to assert what Earth is, but according to how
I'm not suggesting that you do, Babs. I'm saying that circumstance would only be permissible, whichever the word is, in a closed system, like a car.
That's correct.
Correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Is Earth claimed to be a closed system or an open system?
I've heard varying definitions from the ballers. Some say it's closed, some say it's not.
Can we travel, say, to Mars with a satellite, or Venus to have a look at it, or maybe to Pluto to take pictures of that? Could we leave this open claim to be system to do those things or not?
Can.
Oh, so it's open. Oh, that's a big problem then, because this could only take place if the system was closed.
I argue that gravity is what forms the container.
Oh, really?
That barrier that you're advocating for is caused by gravity.
Unfortunately, Babs, I'm sorry to cut you off. No. The bending of a conceptual medium isn't a container, and never will be.
Right. Well, that's not the problem that I had when I was discussing it with them. I begged the question as long as I could, but the only issue that I had is, like, for example, when you're in that moving vehicle and you toss the tennis ball out the window, it's still going to move, and it is eventually going to stop and slow down. It's not just going to indefinitely keep moving in that direction. So based on the explanation of tangential velocity, I'm wondering why the hovering helicopter is not going to slow down at some point.
Also, just out of interest, because you seem to have a good handle on this, the tangential velocity, would it be increased if you increased your altitude, therefore increasing the circumference that you would travel? The outside edge would be increased.
Of course it would be.
Oh, so you're saying that they? So you're saying that
because as you go up,
you would have to, in this example, actually increase the tangential velocity that you had when you left the ground to continue to maintain it as you rose in altitude, correct?
You'll be moving at a faster speed because you're covering a larger circumference.
Right, so you take off from the ground with the alleged tangential velocity attached. not giving you any Coriolis deviation that is claimed to prove Earth spins. Let's just drop that in here. At this point, we're arguing for there not being any Coriolis deviation and not proving Earth spins underneath. We're arguing it for it being maintained and not giving them that special proof of Coriolis deviation that they need to prove the Earth spins. Just want to drop that in. Nevertheless, it leaves the ground, according to the fundies who fight against Coriolis deviation proving Earth spins, and maintains the velocity that the Earth spins underneath it. So it doesn't deviate, doesn't give you that proof of Earth spin. But as it raises in altitude, it's actually physically increasing in velocity to match the tangential speed underneath. No. Planes don't magically know that the tangential velocity of the non-inertial reference frame spinning underneath would have to be increased because it's on the outside edge of a presupposed sphere. No, that would not happen. That's an impossibility.
Right. But as far as how they view Earth and the atmosphere, they view it as one reference frame. So even if you do leave Earth, you're not leaving Earth's reference frame. So based on that explanation, you're still going to maintain tangential velocity.
Because it's a closed system.
Because Earth,
because it's closed.
Because it's closed, yeah.
No, Earth isn't closed. It's an open system, according to their fundy rhetoric of sphere Earth in vacuum. That's not closed. It's not maintaining the atmosphere, travelling along and flying in the face of the claim to be proof that it's spinning in the form of Coriolis deviation. So all this bullshit about how it's travelling with the Earth is an argument against the deviation you're supposed to see and is claimed to be there when people like Neil deGrasse Tyson assert that the goalposts moved under the ball because it rotated underneath. Nothing to do with latitude changes and everything to do with Earth rotating underneath to give you the Coriolis effect. These people, these fundies you're arguing with, are saying that they don't see it.
Right.
Well, that's not the proof that they
However,
need. They need Coriolis effect. They need deviation to be demonstrable to prove it spins, not to argue all day long about how they don't see deviation and how it's possible for an open system to carry Earth and atmosphere as one to defy Coriolis proof of Earth spinning. That's what these fundies are doing.
It is what they're doing, but their claim isn't that you'd see Coriolis on powered flights. You'd only see it in ballistic flight.
Oh, really?
Like a football.
So Coriolis effect, if you had an example of a drone, powered flight on a roundabout, you put a little sticky X on the outside edge where you're going to start your drone's flight. You spin the roundabout and it's attached. Obviously, the drone moves with the roundabout. It's sat on it until you push the up stick. Only the up stick. And it flies up and the roundabout continues to rotate underneath. Does it fly along with the roundabout because it's powered flight? No, it doesn't. That's nonsense.
Yeah, but the football example's a pretty good one, actually. Neil deGrasse Tyson saying, okay, so the balls deviate to the right when you kick north and south. So should be demonstrable, yeah?
Yeah, they need, it not only should be, they're saying it is there, Coriolis deviation, not the lack thereof, like the fundies here in the trenches argue. The deviation being apparent, noticeable, there, is what's claimed to prove the Earth spins. So we don't need to enter into these arguments about Earth and atmosphere travelling as one, because that's an argument against the rhetoric. They need the actual deviation. If they're saying there isn't any deviation and trying to explain why there isn't any deviation, then they're essentially arguing against the proof that the Earth spins. There isn't any deviation, they're saying, and this is why. Well, there isn't any deviation is our argument. There isn't any proof Earth spins. The deviation is the proof it spins. And if it's not there and you're going to argue why it's not noticeable anymore, well, then you're arguing why we don't notice it spinning. Because we don't. It isn't.
Right. With the merry-go-round example, when the drone goes up, it may deviate slightly, but it's going to stay in one spot because it's maintaining the tangential velocity of the atmosphere, which is in the same reference frame as Earth.
So no Coriolis deviation in that example then?
No Coriolis deviation.
Well, they need Coriolis deviation to prove it spins. The Coriolis effect is what is claimed to prove Earth spins. So these fundy zealots who come here to tell us about why it doesn't deviate, why it doesn't prove Earth spins underneath, are arguing for it not proving Earth spins. Shout out to George Netanyahu, who goes around the circuit all day long, arguing for Earth and atmosphere travelling as one. He needs the deviation to be demonstrated. That's the proof it spins, not a fight for why it doesn't.
Shout out retracted.
You need to fight for there being a deviation that we do not see. We don't see the deviation, and it needs to be there to prove it spins, not a fight with us about why we don't see it, because that's not proving it spins.
So far, the only example they have of deviation is not helicopters or planes. It's just sniper bullets being shot from south to north.
Can I address
deviation is
that?
caused
Just
decreasing
complete your statement
speed
and then go
of
ahead, Paul. Sorry, Babs, go ahead.
the latitude lines. Oh, did you guys hear any of that?
Just the end was clipped, but yes, Paul, if you can go after. Go ahead, Babs.
Yeah, so the only way you're going to see deviation is if you're making a shot from south to north, where that bullet is going to encounter latitudes that are rotating at varying speeds, slower speeds to be more precise.
Yeah, there's a problem with the ballistic aspect of things that they don't talk to you about typically. They only argue the sniper when they make that argument. But if you can see my screen, I don't know if Nathan can share it or not. And their typical argument is the hang time of the bullet, which means it's got to be in the air long enough for the deviation to occur. Well, most small arm firearms like sniper bullets and handguns and stuff like that running, their top speed is about 1,500 meters per second. Of course, Lloyd decides to scream in the background. Hang on a second, she's screaming. But Lily, be quiet for a second.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just
okay. But if you look at our Lily, stop. I'm going to go outside if you don't stop. Okay. Hey, let me come back just a quick second.
No
guys.
worries.
Get involved in something. I'll come back.
It's not a problem.
May I say something?
Why would the bullet's hang time, the amount of time that the bullet spends in the air, cause? Why would that be a factor in whether the bullet is going to deviate or not?
Well, it should be that the longer the hang time, the more deviation that's noticeable. The longer it's in that inertial reference frame, the longer the non-inertial reference frame spins underneath, causing the apparent deviation. The apparent deviation being it looking like it's curving because you're still spinning underneath it. You're attached to the frame of reference that spins, the non-inertial spinning reference frame of the claim to be spinning Earth. And then when the bullet leaves the gun, it travels through an inertial reference frame separate from the spinning ball Earth claimed to be spinning underneath. So when you see the deviation, it's because you stay on the claim to be spinning Earth, and the bullet travels in a straight line, but you see it seeming to curve. Well, that's only got a very limited hang time. So as a result, when you actually see this deviation in a limited hang time bullet, they say, there you go, Coriolis. But you go, well, a plane is leaving the non-inertial claim to be spinning ball Earth. Why don't we see any deviation in that? Oh, well, because it's powered. Well, you can make an example of Coriolis effect really easily with powered anything, like a drone on a roundabout. And the fact that it's powered doesn't mean suddenly it flies along with the roundabout. That's horseshit. But that's what they'll claim to get around the fact that we simply don't see their claim to be proof of Earth spinning. We don't see Coriolis deviation in planes, or helicopters, or drones, or balls, or bullets. They only use those examples because they're only in the air for a few seconds and they can get away with their bullshit claim.
I'm back if you guys
It's-
whatever.
Yeah, go ahead,
Paul's
Paul.
back. Okay.
Okay. If you can see the chart, I don't know if you can share it or see it. I can drop it in the,
You're on,
Discord.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Like I looked it up and researched it. The M1 Abrams tank has a distance of 9+ miles, but the bullet velocity, the velocity of the bullet is like less. It's like 1,000 meters per second. So obviously that artillery or that tank shell is going to have a longer hang time than the sniper bullet. Now, I've got an uncle. I know this is anecdotal evidence, but if you guys can show where they account for this. He said that whenever they were shooting the tanks, they never accounted for Coriolis. So the tank bullet would have a longer hang time than the sniper bullet, which is only going 2 miles, compared to the tank, which is going 9 miles. And if you put in artillery, which they're roughly running the same speed as a tank, that would even have a longer hang time because it is even going further. So if you're saying it will work with sniper bullets, then tanks and artillery should account for it as well, but they don't.
Nope.
And definitely
And those
not
tanks and
aircrafts
those
that travel
artillery
about
shells-
1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. Don't worry about that. Just bullets. It's ridiculous.
Those tanks and those sniper bullets. Why would the hang time matter?
Because it would move it. Obviously, the Earth has more time to move underneath of it. The longer it's in the air, the more time it has to move. That's the argument.
That would only vary the amount of deviation that you're going to notice.
No,
Can I
only
interject
there
a
is the
thought
only
here?
time
Yeah.
they'll tell you that there's deviation
No, he's
because
right.
there isn't actually any deviation.
He's
right?
correct.
Because it would be the easiest to see with an aircraft that's spending 4 hours in the air, right? That would be the easiest example, and we wouldn't even be talking about it. It would have been seen. It would have been a thing, but it's not. So the only thing they could tell you is little things like a bullet, or Mr. DeGrasse Tyson, who wants to tell people that a football is being scored because the Earth is rotating underneath it. But it's not happening with anything else. So that's the problem.
You are right.
The factors that you need to take into consideration when you're making those shots is, are you making north to south or south to north shots? Because that's the only time when you would account for Coriolis. And also,
Hang on.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long the hang time is. The bullets are still going to encounter varying. They're going to encounter varying latitude lines as they travel. So that's still going to cause deviation just based on the explanation of the varying speeds of the different latitude lines. That's still going to happen regardless of the hang time.
Yeah, hold on, we got 10th man in the wings. No, we started off with you saying that I had to beg the question along with you. Now you're demanding that these latitude lines have an effect when they're they're a concept. So no, we don't have to necessarily automatically.
By the way.
Yeah, we don't have to automatically concern ourselves with these decreasing size rings on a presupposed sphere, because that's a concept based on a sphere. But also, this nonsense is taken apart. If it's rotating at different speeds of a bullet, then that's going to be exemplified by anything with a longer hang time. So something that's in the air for a prolonged period is going to demonstrate it. The other, I will let you go, 10th man and Paul. The other thing you said was, well, the fact that it's got a longer hang time would just give you a greater deviation. Well, if you go back to the example of the drone on a roundabout, if you take a camera that can only take 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds of film, and you set your camera going the moment that the drone leaves the spinning non-inertial reference frame, well then in that 1.5 seconds the roundabout only might turn 1/8 of a turn. So you do see a little bit of deviation. Now, if on the other hand you sit on that roundabout and the drone can hover for 3 hours, for 3 hours solid, if you're sat on the roundabout, you see it looking like it flies towards you, flies away from you, flies towards you, flies away from you. The deviation's constant. You're seeing it deviate the whole time as it flies towards you and flies away from you. Now, in reality, it's not flying towards you, it's hovering. It just looks like it because you're rotating underneath. And the longer it's in the air and you're rotating underneath, that effect will be constantly happening because you're constantly rotating underneath for however long it's in the air. Sorry, do you want to go ahead? Well, do you want to respond, Babs, and then 10th man if you go next?
Sure. I'll respond. Okay, so that drone that's in the air is subject to the movement of the atmosphere. So as the Earth and the atmosphere are moving, the drone is also going to be moving, therefore creating the appearance of hovering or staying in the same location.
Well, then it's not deviating, is it? But you're describing... Yeah,
but we already established...
What you're describing isn't Coriolis effect. So you're saying, well, they're travelling as one. What we've done is we've stuck a dome, completely sealed it so that the air inside can move along with the roundabout in a spinning motion, if that's possible. But analogous to a car being closed, with the windows closed, and you're throwing a ball up in the air and it's still coming back to your hand because it's in a closed system. So you make that analogy and say, okay, fine. The helicopter seems to stay above the X because the air's travelling with the roundabout. Well, that's fascinating. But that's not Coriolis effect, the thing that's claimed to prove Earth spins. The deviation away from the X and it appearing to fly towards you and flying away from you as you rotate underneath is the thing that is claimed to prove it's spinning. So giving me an example of why it seems to follow along with the X underneath it, giving the appearance of hovering over the same ground, well, that's not giving any proof of Earth spinning, because the Coriolis deviation is the proof it's spinning, or claimed to be. So it must rotate underneath and show an apparent deviation in order to prove it spins. Not a cockamamie example of why it doesn't show the deviation, because that's not proving it spins.
Right, but we already established that the deviation can only be seen in ballistic flight. The example of the merry-go-round and the drone was your example. That wasn't my example.
That's just Coriolis effect. It's not my example. It is Coriolis effect. The deviation, the apparent flying towards you and flying away from you of that hovering drone is Coriolis deviation. The apparent effect of it flying towards you. Well, that apparent effect is Coriolis effect. So you saying, well, no, in my example, it's where they travel to different latitude lines. Well, that's fascinating. You know, using a conceptual line that's been reified from a presupposed sphere in the trajectory of the sun isn't going to change what Coriolis effect actually is. It's the apparent deviation as the non-inertial reference frame rotates underneath. That's what it is. So telling me that it's no, my example of Coriolis relies on these reified lines, I couldn't give a shit. I know you're not a fundy, and I know you're just putting their argument across, but it literally makes no difference to what Coriolis effect actually is. It's the non-inertial reference frame rotating underneath, giving rise to a not actual deviation. The appearance of something deviating because you're rotating underneath. Any example that involves that not happening, and no deviation, isn't Coriolis effect. And let's get it absolutely plain. The claim that is in place from the current rhetoric of the globe Earth is that we do have Coriolis effect. In planes, in helicopters, in anything that leaves the spinning non-inertial reference frame of the claim to be spinning Earth. Now the reality is we never see any effect. Therefore we aren't spinning, that's the reality. But all we get from the fundies, because we don't see the effect that's claimed to prove it spins, is an argument for why we don't see the effect, rather than them actually demonstrating the effect. And when they come to demonstrate the effect, it's with something that's in the air for a second and a half. And then a massive argument about why we don't see it in anything else. Powered flight being a crap rebuttal. Oh, well, because it's powered. Like my drone on a roundabout will suddenly follow along with the X because it's got a powered engine. It won't. That won't be giving you the Coriolis effect that they need anyway to prove it spins.
Right. But with the ignorant people, they actually do still use the arguments. The baseline ones, that they contradict themselves when you actually test them. They will still use them.
Well, that's why now they're saying that it's all one reference, right? Remember how many times I got Zanuck to say, no, nothing leaves reference frames. It's all one reference frame. Well, in their narrative, they have to have a reference frame moving under another reference frame. That's how they get the deviation.
This video that I'm showing has made the circuit, and I'm not saying it's demonstrating Coriolis effect, but it undermines their own argument if you watch the video, because the guy's doing the shot east to west. He's not doing it north to south. So if the bullet is moving underneath, or the Earth is moving underneath the bullet, and according to this video, east to west, then it would move, under everything. So even this video shoots themselves in the foot when they make that argument. So if they're inconsistent in their
it does. Because you're right. Because I've seen this. This guy does this demonstration shooting the bullet east and west, right? So obviously there's a problem if they're saying that east and west doesn't cause any deviation, but here's a guy supposedly demonstrating this, and he's shooting east and west. So again, their narrative is falling the hell apart.
No, it was a trick all along.
Hold on. Go ahead, Babs.
Or not? Did it just go straight, or did it deviate in that video?
Well, all they show you is the guy taking some shots, right? Hitting the target in one spot and then hitting it in another, turning around and then doing the same thing the other direction. And the only thing that it's shown in the video is him telling you that the shots were a little bit low because of the rotation, or the other way was a little bit high, right? You don't see him adjusting for it. You don't see him doing anything. Just taking the shots, hitting the target, and then telling the camera, oh, look, it's lower because the Earth spun this way. Or that shot's higher because the Earth spun that way. He doesn't adjust for it himself. He doesn't do anything of the kind.
You're shooting from east to west.
He knows what he's doing. It's not
latitude line. Shooting from east to west, you're shooting along the same latitude line. As opposed to
That's the point. That's the point. He's saying there is deviation.
You'd only experience deviation if you're shooting from north to south, because it's rotating eastward. But when you're shooting westward, it's staying on the same latitude.
See, Babs, the problem, Babs, is that that's what these guys, these ballers, are telling you. That's not what's in their narrative. Okay? They're just using that to tell you, oh, it only works if you go north and south. Well, here's a guy on that side who's supposedly taking shots and counting for Coriolis and telling you that it's east and west he's firing. Okay? So again, these guys are not on the same page. You got to see the double speak in the nonsense.
No, they are on the same page and they're doing it wrong on purpose.
I have a question.
There's a lot of
I have a question. I have a question. So, guys, if Coriolis is real and you're talking about east, west, north, south, where in the field manuals for these artillery shells that these Abrams tanks use, does it tell the operators, the gunners, to account for Coriolis when facing north and south, and not to account for it when facing east and west? Because surely, if there's going to be a deviation of several meters, they're going to miss the target all the time, or they're going to at least lose a round. And you can't afford to lose many rounds if you're in a tank. It takes too long to reload. So tell me, where is the manual that tells that you account for this?
I've never reviewed any of the field manuals before to comment on that.
I posted it last week. I posted the sniper field manual and the artillery field manual last week, and none of them mentioned Coriolis in any direction. But let me get to my point.
Have the link?
Actually, Chris just posted one in Skype the other day that literally.
If there's no field manual that tells you that there's an issue facing north and south as opposed to east and west, that's a big issue for major countries in conflicts, wouldn't you think?
Go ahead, Chocolate.
We're arguing with him.
Hold on 1 second, 10th man. Say that again, Chocolate. Chocolate, you're on mute.
I'm not Chocolate, but I'm gonna say something. This guy's a gatekeeper. He's obviously doing it wrong.
No, he's not. It's Babs.
I'm a gatekeeper.
It's Babs.
He's just playing the part. He's just playing the part.
Gatekeeper.
But I want to say something to him while he's playing the part.
No, the person doing this Coriolis video.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes. Not you,
Babs. May also
yeah,
be
I was confused too.
You're chill, Babs. Who are you again?
Why?
I think that just kind of highlights that you were inconsequential to Arwen's thought process in this regard, Babs. He's like, who are you? No, the guy in the video. This guy.
I don't matter. I'm not even here right now.
You are. So that's not what I mean.
Sorry.
Imagination.
So
I'm just saying that
my statement.
The guy doing the video is a gatekeeper. Very clearly, he's pretending to have the proof. He's not doing it right, and he's not correcting himself, obviously, at any point. So it's going to keep it out there. That's typically gatekeeper, to be that obstacle for people to bump into and then discourage them from proceeding to actually do it right, to supposedly prove it right.
Go on, 10th man. Go ahead.
Okay. Closed system, open system. When they argue that the atmosphere is lockstep with the Earth, they're arguing for a closed system. Like inside a car, the atmosphere would be lockstep within the car because the windows are closed, there's a roof, and front and back windshields. So this is where they die, because they say the Earth is an open system. Well, with an open system, it's more like a convertible. Or my truck example from a week ago. You're in the back and you're going X amount of miles per hour, you throw up a ball. Well, the ball is going to leave that reference frame. So, okay, ballers, are we in a closed system with the atmosphere lockstep, which means you have a container around this Earth? Is that what you're arguing? Because that's the only way that argument works. Of course, they're going to say no. So then we're in an open system. So then Nathan's example of the roundabout with an X painted on the roundabout and the drone lifting off and hovering, the X will make a full circle and come under the drone every time it turns. That's an open system. And you would see an apparent deflection there because you're moving, the drone isn't. So they're dead because they don't have the Earth moving, and they have to agree that the Earth and air are moving as one, which means you're in a closed system, which is not their position. The argument's dead. It's a fallacy to begin with.
I was just going to say, I just posted in the Discord live streaming chat the same citation that or the same field manual page that Paul has on his screen right now. And if you look at, where is it? G? That's a funny statement right there. If you look at G.
That the Earth is motionless. Where is this from anyway?
It's the, you see the one on top, the picture before it? That's where it's from.
Yeah. U.S. Marine Corps. So even they know that Coriolis isn't happening.
Yeah, they're certainly not accounting for the Earth rotating underneath, as asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. The ball, which is obviously going to be far less, of a concern in terms of accuracy, not exactly a life and death situation now, but he's saying that the Earth rotated underneath that ball to cause a field goal. Well, according to the Marines, you have to consider the Earth to be motionless.
Right. Interesting.
Not just the Marines, but NASA too. I posted this morning on Master B the NASA document that we've all seen before. So, Paul, if you want to go, or Chaka, you want to go?
To talk about the deviation of linear flight?
Yeah.
Yep. I can post that one in there too.
Not happening.
Sorry, try again, Babs.
I'll try to get it up for the show, but
I'm curious.
Everyone's cutting you off, I'm afraid, Babs. Try again.
Yeah, I'm curious to know why 10th Man thinks that Coriolis wouldn't happen in an open system. Why do you think that?
No, I didn't say that. Open system. I said closed system is what they're arguing for. Because they're saying the atmosphere is stuck to the Earth. So that's a closed system. That's like in the car. The atmosphere in the car is going with the car. That's what they're arguing. But they don't believe that when it comes to Earth. They say the Earth is an open system. So don't give me an argument based on a closed system when you believe the Earth is an open system. Stay consistent with what happens in an open system. The air moves wherever it wants to go, north, east, south, west, all directions.
It's funny, when I watched a video on thermodynamics, and they said to actually describe it perfectly, you've got to make sure you define all the parameters. Well, when we talk about one parameter, then they shift the parameter. We're not talking about the same thing. Even when you're describing thermodynamics, any of this entropy stuff, you've got to be very precise. And of course, Lily decides to scream. They've got to be very specific. They changed their definition and what they're doing to make their illustration all the time.
Yeah, because they're on the losing side of an argument. They're reifying a model that isn't real. We do not live on a sphere. The sky is not a vacuum. We do not have deviation demonstrating Earth spins. They argue against it. So this whole open-closed argument, to be honest, is for me off in the sticks or in the weeds, whatever you want to call it, in regards to Coriolis deviation. The bottom line is they claim the proof Earth spins is Coriolis deviation. Doesn't matter if it's from a pendulum, doesn't matter if it's from a gyroscope, it doesn't matter if it's from a bullet or a ball. It's claimed to have, Earth is claimed to have a deviation because it spins underneath the inertial reference frame. It is as simple as that. So when we get into the arguments about the ball in a car, when you're in a closed car with closed windows at 70 on the motorway and you throw the ball up and it comes back to your hand, it's not deviating. Well, the example that's supposed to prove Earth spins is deviating. It's an open-top car where you throw the ball in the air and the ball just goes up and down because you've thrown it up. But from your position in the car, it looks like it curves away miles behind you because you're going at 70 miles an hour. It's not. It's just gone up where you threw it and your cars carry on going underneath it. Well, that's the deviation that they claim proves Earth spins. Not a closed car with a man throwing a ball and catching it again. That's the lack of deviation, a lack of proof Earth spins.
I'm curious to know why you personally think that Coriolis should happen in helicopters, planes, as well as bullets. All of those examples. Why should it take place in all those examples and not just one?
It does on my roundabout. So I launch a drone off the roundabout, and the roundabout does absolutely unequivocally continue to rotate underneath, giving you the Coriolis deviation that's claimed to be there if you have a spinning Earth. That's the effect you should see to prove Earth spins. So when you say I don't understand why you say you should see or should not see deviation in a helicopter, no, the rhetoric claims we will see Coriolis effect proving Earth spins. So according to the rhetoric, we will see deviation as a result of us remaining on the non-inertial spinning Earth. The fact that we don't see deviation means we don't have Coriolis effect. It's as simple as that. Oh, it's not deviating. I don't care what your excuse is, fundies. If it's not deviating, it's not proving Earth spins, because that's the claim to be proof of Earth spinning. The deviation that we do see. The problem is we don't see it. We don't see the deviation that's claimed to prove Earth spins. It's the deviation that you need to see, not an excuse for why we don't.
So you don't believe that objects that are on a moving surface are going to maintain that tangential velocity once they leave that surface?
I don't care. The claimed proof that Earth spins is the Coriolis deviation, not the retention of angular velocity. Is that claimed to be proof Earth spins? Retention of angular velocity? No. Coriolis deviation, friend. That's what's claimed to prove it spins. You telling me why it doesn't, or how it retains angular velocity, and how it doesn't have Coriolis deviation is just a roundabout way of you explaining away why we don't see this proof Earth spins. It must deviate to prove Earth spins.
Right.
But it doesn't.
I agree.
But it doesn't.
100%.
So the helicopter doesn't deviate, does it?
No.
Who cares why? Doesn't make any difference. If it doesn't deviate, it doesn't prove Earth spins. The fundy, endless arguments for why it doesn't deviate are inconsequential. The only thing that matters is to prove it spins, it must deviate. And what's that you say, fundy? It doesn't. And then a long tirade of why it doesn't. I don't care. The deviation's what you need to prove it spins. And it isn't there. We don't see it. Ergo, it does not spin.
Yeah, because if it was actually spinning, you would see this deviation in everything that's in the air, right? Because that's their story, that's their narrative. But because you don't see that deviation in relation to Earth, they have to come up with a story to tell you as to why we don't see it. And that's the whole problem. So they're going to try to make you think that a helicopter hovering above the Earth is all stationary above the Earth and spinning at the same time. This is the nonsense double speak that we're living in right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they have to do. This is why it's so confusing for them, because they have to tell you it's moving around the earth at the same time, but at the same time, it can't be, because that's not the way we would get the Coriolis effect. And since we don't have that effect, that's why they have to fight it. This is why they're driving themselves crazy.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm sure we will discuss the depression that is rife throughout the Globe Zealots community. But if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, then unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in and hopefully shared, liked, commented, subscribed and all that good stuff. Be sure to stay tuned if you are watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. Of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Two reference frames can be in the same place at the same time. Literally said that. Remember?
Who? You talking to me?
Was that Kosho or was that Zanuck?
It could also be Zanuck.
They're fighting for there being one reference frame. Oh, it's all one reference frame. Well, then you don't have Coriolis effect because it leaves.
No, but that's worse. He said that two reference frames can be in the same place at the same time. It's total contradictory to what a reference frame is in the first place. It's bizarre.
And an obfuscation, because who cares? To have Coriolis deviation, to see the effect of things drifting away from you because you're rotating underneath, you've got to have something rotating underneath and something not. Two reference frames. It's really simple. But they're arguing for two being one and they're only being... No, it's just simple. Roundabout, drone. Drone leaves roundabout, you rotate underneath. It looks like it's flying towards you and flying away because you're rotating underneath it. In reality, it's hovering. That's why it's not actual deviation. It's hovering. You're going underneath it. And the fact that Earth is claimed to spin means that you will go underneath. Things that leave that spinning frame will deviate or appear to drift because you're rotating underneath. That's the claim. So we see deviation because Earth spins. That's the claim. No, we don't. We don't see any deviation and we end up in endless arguments about how we don't and why we don't. Well, we need to if it's spinning, because that's what proves it spins, the deviation that we don't see. We're not seeing any deviation, but that's what they need.
Yeah, thanks for not tearing me to shreds, guys. I appreciate that. But the fundies say that...
Chris, we cool, that? Man. You're good.
You're on our
Don't
side.
worry about that, bro.
You're on our side. Playing devil's advocates. Very, very greatly appreciated.
As long as we're on the same page, then we're cool.
Yeah, no, you're on our side. I get it. You're playing devil's advocate. You want to understand it. They're explaining your arguments with latitude changes and the difference in tangential velocity of the Earth rotating underneath as you move north. I understand their argument. Last time Kosho put that to me, I had to time down on the double speak. So the speed that the Earth rotates underneath is different as you move north. So you take off in a helicopter and then you move north and suddenly it starts rotating underneath? And where do they go from there? Well, no, it's retaining tangential velocity. It's just there's a slight change as you go north. Change of what? The speed the Earth rotates underneath. So the argument always comes back to the necessary cause of Coriolis deviation. The fact that the separate reference frame is rotating underneath. They can't get away from it. All they're trying to do is argue for why you don't see it or why it's minimized. That's it. We would need to see it to see the proof it spins.
I just got George in the chat in the YouTube, and he's saying it's too small. You know, you do have to actually observe it to prove that it exists. You can't just say it exists, but it's too small to detect.
Yeah,
and that's
apparent.
the proof that it exists.
Apparent. So when you throw a ball up on a car that's travelling 70 miles an hour, it just goes up and down. But because you carry on the motorway, the ball looks like it's flying away backwards in relation to the car at great speed. You know, if you've ever flown a fag butt out of a car, you'll know what I'm talking about. You flick it out and pshum, it goes miles behind you and hits the car behind. Yeah? Well, no. In reality, it's not actually going very fast at all. You're accelerating away from it. Well, that's apparent deviation. Now, when they say, oh, it's too slight to see, what are you talking about? It's deviating, and the fact that we see it deviating because we're rotating underneath is the proof it spins. Not the, well, you can't see it very much. What? We can't see very much proof it's spinning? Yeah, we know.
Yeah, I think one of the funniest things is I looked up anticyclones, because cyclones are supposed to be a proof of the Coriolis effect. So I looked up anticyclones, which means basically the opposite to the Coriolis effect. And it says anticyclones do not disprove the Coriolis effect. It's like, yeah, they do.
Well,
otherwise, why would you say that?
That's a nonsense, right? The Coriolis deviation, right, is in the case of the drone that's hovering, you moving underneath it and it's seeming to come towards you and away from you. Seeming. It's a hovering drone. It's not moving at all. It's relatively in the same position all the time, but for a little bit of a breeze, potentially. It certainly isn't moving along with the roundabout. So it's seeming to fly towards you and seeming to fly away from you in a kind of figure 80 path. I don't know how a spirograph diagram of that would look, but the fact that it's got a kind of analemma as it's coming away and going towards and coming away. No, it's not. It's only an apparent deviation. It's not really flying towards you. Well, are hurricanes only seeming to deviate because you rotate underneath a straight line of wind? No, that's not Coriolis effect. An apparent deviation. No, these winds are actually deviating. It's not them seeming to because you're rotating underneath. Sod all to do with a rotational frame underneath them. They're actually deviating. That's actual deflection. It's bullshit about bloody Coriolis deviation in wind. It's utter horseshit. Winds aren't travelling in a straight line and seeming to deviate because we rotate underneath them. That's bollocks.
Well,
that's exactly what Kosho said one day. That hurricane winds are traveling straight and they look the way they do because the Earth is rotating. He literally said that one day.
That's how dumb they are. To square the circle, when they understand, when they have a vague knowledge of what Coriolis effect actually is, and they understand the principle of not actual deflection, they have to say shite like that to square the circle of the nonsense put out in their rhetoric. Oh yeah, these hurricanes, yeah, they're Coriolis proof. Are they? Yeah, Kosho has to square it by saying, yeah, in reality, the wind's going in a straight line. It's a strip of wind. But it just seems to go in a great big circle with an eye at the middle because we're rotating underneath it. What an absolute sack of bollocks.
I guess that's why you can take pictures of them from above and see that, right? When they're the same inertial reference frame.
Don't you ever experience little tornadoes popping up when you're swinging on the roundabout? Normal, right?
Crap. Yeah, wind doesn't travel in a straight line when it's got an eye at the centre of it. That's obvious actual deviation. It's deflecting in a reality that you can see and experience firsthand. Bloody hellfire. Have these people not seen Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, but this makes me think. I mean, if they say Earth rotates at 15 degrees an hour, which is probably by the equator, as they put it, if you by the top of the North Pole, I mean, shouldn't be rotating much, much quicker?
According
See,
to
the problem with even with the hurricanes is the wind starts to go back north again. It would just kind of rip the. If that was the case, it would rip the hurricane apart. So it would never really form. If that's the case,
it wouldn't be a hurricane.
My
wouldn't be a hurricane.
Is a hurricane an illusion?
No.
Oh, because social citation calls the Coriolis effect
an
illusion.
No, it's actually moving around in circles. It's not seeming to be doing so because you're rotating underneath it. It's actually doing that. And Coriolis effect is a not actual deviation, a seeming to deviate like your drone on the roundabout. It's hovering but seems to fly towards you. That's not what wind does. That's nonsense from globe heads. They want to lie to you about what the world is. And how the proof it spins isn't really a proof of spinning at all. Because it doesn't spin. We don't see deviation, and wind that actually deviates is just a nonsense sideshow bullshit assertion by fundamentalist zealots who actually don't have any proof of real deviation caused by Earth spinning underneath, so they lie and say wind is proof of that deviation that we don't experience, and doesn't prove Earth spins because it isn't spinning.
Nathan, you must understand. They think pseudo means real.
Somebody's got either adenoidal problems and needs to seek medical attention, or their mic's screwed.
Was that flat?
It's me, probably. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
I said, remember, they also think pseudo means real.
Now it's back again. Cookie.
He sounds like Kenny from South Park, right?
Yeah, it did sound like Kenny.
Well, I wasn't saying anything. That was
Flatzoid.
You still here, Auntie?
Yeah.
You got a show at 11 today?
I do.
Right.
It's going to be quite a good one, actually.
That's,
so
just
I'm
before you
hoping
plug it,
to get all the people.
Hold on.
Sorry?
Just before you plug it. So don't disappear. That's in 30 minutes' time for the Nathan Oakley audience. So I'll plug it again at the end and post a link. But yeah, Ranty's Flat Earth Roundtable, or Chit Chat, whichever it may be, starts in about half an hour on Ranty Flat Earth channel. Be here or be sphere.
Wait, Arwen, did you show up to the? Did you go this weekend?
The what? Sorry?
Did you go this weekend?
Where?
Oh wait, you're going to the Amsterdam one, right?
Amsterdam? That's not that weekend. That's 2 weeks.
Oh, I thought we were meeting up at the one that just happened. My bad.
Nope. The Amsterdam conference is, let's see. Yeah, that's the 28th in Amsterdam. That's where I'm going. Now, last weekend I was over visiting a friend in the east of the Netherlands.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Did you want to finish off plugging your show, Ranty?
Yeah, sure. So I'm hoping to get all the people that were interviewed by the Sun. Can you hear me? Because it's a bit windy up here.
No, it's okay. We can just about make you out. It's all good.
One sec. I'll nip round the side where it's less windy. Right, so, yeah, I'm hoping to get all the people that were interviewed by the Sun to come on the Hangout and discuss their article, because I think it was a bit of a hit piece more than anything. In fact, I know it was a hit piece because I read it. So I'm not entirely happy with the way they reported that. I think the Adam Meakin also filmed the recording with Tony, so they...
Oh, we've lost you temporarily. We lost you when we lost you at the point you said Adam Meakin filmed the interview with the Sun.
Yeah, Adam Meakin filmed it with the Sun, so he has it on record what was exactly said. Again, they misrepresented what Tony said, so if I can get hold of that clip, it should be able to rectify that situation and put that to bed.
You can. Hold on. That's available on a playlist. So I'll put a playlist together that's got Paul on the Plains video with Mark Sargent, the interview with Sleeping Warrior filmed by Iron Realm Media, the Adam Meakin, and along with Sleeping Warrior's presentation, Paul on the Plains presentation, and Martin Leitker's presentation. So there's a playlist called Flat Earth UK Conference 2019. So on that playlist, it's on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. You can see that interview filmed by Adam firsthand.
Good stuff. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you very much. So yeah, I've just got a coffee.
I thought something's nice that isn't. It's not what I've just said that's justified that long string of thank yous, but a cup of coffee on the other hand. Wow.
From the house owner can't be bad.
Indeed.
So I'm going to be discussing that. I'm hoping to get all the people that were interviewed on there. You know, I've heard back from a couple, so it should be good. And then after that, I'm going to do a debate with Tony and Toady. So they're going to get into something. So it's going to be basically a pretty civil back and forth on a particular topic. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet. So yeah, that should be interesting too. So it's going to be quite a long show, I think, tonight. Maybe 3 hours, perhaps.
Cool. So that's starting in about 30 minutes for those of you watching on Nathan Oakley channel.
11 p.m. BST. It's London time, yeah. Right, I'm going to go back on mute again. Drink my brew. You don't want to listen to my slurping.
Cool. Thanks, Ranty. There's another first tomorrow. So at 8 p.m. UK time, Quantum Eraser is going to have a whole bunch of us, including myself, on his channel for his first live broadcast that he's actually at the helm of. I know there's been a couple of live streams already on his channel, but this one will actually be him completely in control of it. So wish him well, and tune in to Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. That's 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be here or be sphere.
I just want to say hello if you can hear me.
Can hear you. Good to have you.
Yeah, good show, by the way. I listen a lot and haven't spoken before, but very entertaining and some great points. And yeah. It's,
Are you a Kiwi?
Fantastic.
Are you a Kiwi?
Sounds more like Australian mainland.
I know. He's going to be very offended if he isn't a Kiwi and he is Australian.
I'm in Australia, by the way.
My bad.
I got you. Ha. Now, Australian have a more pronounced effect on just their.
And there's no curvature
their
here.
vowels. Kiwis are
No
a little bit
curvature.
more reserved, it seems.
Bit late with that one. We only covered 2 housekeeping questions today. Earth curve and axial rotation. That was all we got through. Yeah, very nice to have you.
By the way, the baller trolls are now trying to make my early bird show into the flat earth debate as well by bringing the same nonsensical arguments into my chat constantly.
So do you address them all? I didn't watch your show today.
Right. Well, today I did address him and got kind of pissed off. A little. Not too bad. But it was about gravity, and I just said, okay, so if you are going to claim something to be caused by gravity, can you please explain how, based on what gravity officially is supposed to be, according to the body of science that you lean so heavily upon? But he just never addressed it and just kept referencing to his Newtonian conceptualization, which I then addressed is outdated officially. So, yeah.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Nope.
It's funny because the other day when Neil deGrasse Tyson was describing gravity, he never once mentioned that it was a force. He never once mentioned Newton's equations or anything like that, or mass attracting mass. It was never mentioned. It was always the ending of space-time, and we know what it is, or we don't know what it is, and just double speak out of his freaking mouth. But
they don't know what it is, but they know it must be there.
Because it has to be.
The ultimate mystery of gravity. It's up to us to find out what it is. Ooh.
Because it has to be, Arwen. It has to be.
Yeah, even though they don't know why, because they don't know what it is. So,
this got addressed in Sleeping Warriors paper. I'm only about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way reading through it, but it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm keen. Once the show's over, the first thing I'm going to do is get back on reading it, and I read it right up until the show was about to begin. It's really, really good. I shouldn't be shocked. I know Anthony's smart, but it's just really well written. If you get a chance, pester him. See if you can get hold of a copy. But I think maybe because I'd read some of the drafts, he was just like, yeah, I'm just on my way out the door. I'm going to go up to the university and drop it off now. And I was like, okay, fine. And then he just said, I'll send you a copy when I get back. And I don't know if it was in my tone. I was like, oh. And he went, oh, no, I'll send it you now. And then he just immediately sent it me. I was like, oh, thank you very much. So, of course, I immediately downloaded it and started reading it. And from the moment I picked it up, it just reads well. You know, it's compelling to read. It's not dry. It's very informative, extremely well referenced. It's just good, really, really good.
Oh wait, so this is the university paper?
Yeah, it's his submission. It's the final submission. It's all referenced up, fully, spell checked. Not that matters, but the flow of the content, the way it reads, is excellent. Just his drafts weren't.
Yeah.
You know, I'd often get back in
Refined
touch with him
writing.
and say, you know, this kind of doesn't follow, and we've lost the point of the meaning in law, and it's sidetracked too much into the debate and the way it's phrased. This was none of that. It was like every step linked it back to the law perfectly, the references and how they're linking it back to the law, and the examples and how they link back to it, all perfectly laid out. Excellent in terms of its structure, the references, how it linked all the things together so far. Haven't got to the conclusion yet, and like I say, I just can't wait to read the rest of it and actually finish off reading it this afternoon. But if you get a chance, just pester him, just say, give me a copy. I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be. It should be widely publicised until it's actually gone through the system.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because obviously, if it gets put out there and somebody uploads it to Reddit or something, and then they make a massive deal about it, you know, it's going to get back to them, and they're going to be like, "Yeah, we're not going to pass this." But if it's all kept under lock and key just until he gets his mark, that'd probably be the best way.
Yeah, fair enough. But I'm saying amongst us, you know, still, I would still, even that being said, pester him up and just, you know, just don't release it. But it's still a compelling read.
I just think it's too much of a risk to hand it out prior. Just saying.
Fair
Just
enough.
my
Fair
opinion.
enough. Yeah, I know what you mean. If it was me, I probably wouldn't have sent it to me. That's why I'm kind of saying it. I'm like, wow, I'm really quite flattered that he was just like, yeah, you know, here you go, have a read through. I'm like, oh, thank you very much. Yes. I will. It's exciting though. I think it's exciting because it really cements the idea of this making actual steps forward. And I remember when Anthony put it to me about doing the GoFundMe to generate the cash to actually do this, and the risks involved and the work involved, huge amounts of work on Anthony's part. You know, it seemed much more real than simply discussing it. And I'm not, you know, demeaning anything we do here in terms of the debate. It's progressing our arguments and the discussion itself. So, you know, I think there's a lot to be said for that. But by the same token, taking the steps that Anthony takes, or has taken, or is literally taking as we speak, he's probably handing it over right now, are pretty massive. You know, he's got his digital copy, he's got his hard copy, he's in his car, he's driving down, he's going to hand it off after all the work, all the fundraising, all the drafts, and all the roadblocks that were put up. I mean, we haven't even mentioned that on the live show, but the amount of roadblocks that were put up by the university itself was unreal. You know, he's had to strive to get this to this stage just to be in a position to submit it. You know, forgetting the fact that it's a really good piece of work, in my humble opinion. Yeah, good on Anthony. Big shout out to Sleeping Warrior. Massive kudos.
Everyone go and subscribe
big
right
shout
now.
out to
That's
Riley.
Sleeping
That's awesome.
Warrior. Everyone go and subscribe. Sleeping Warrior right now. Want to see him at 4,000 subs. And I think everyone should try and push to get you to 15, Nathan. You're very close, aren't you?
I think I'm jinxing it. I've talked about it for the last month. I'm going, oh, I'm only 12 people off. Oh, it's gone down. Now I'm only 20 off. Oh, I'm only 10 off. Oh, now I'm only 15 off. It's the same all bloody month. So,
yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll do a mega shout out for you tonight a couple of times, see if we can get you past that 15.
To be honest, if I'm honest, Ranty, I'd much prefer you did something else that was what you've already done, which is focus on Martin. So, obviously, Martin's a bit overwhelmed at the moment. And when I discussed it with him at the, and I'm sure you did too, you know, he's kind of almost resigned himself to having lost his channel. You know, he's made his efforts with YouTube. He's leaving it in their good hands, and it's like, no, I actually said to him, look, I'd be chasing them every hour if it was me, but, you know, I can't pester Martin to do anything. It's his business. But by the same token, we can help him. And yesterday evening, Ranty did a live stream appeal for people to actually tweet at YouTube in regards to, well, number one, there, you know, the poison that's been spewed into their feeds. Because if you subscribe to Martin Leakey, suddenly you've got, you know, an upload a minute from this channel where it's all garbage. It's like reruns of Judge Judy and Japanese cartoons. So you're like, what is all this garbage? And, you know, that's obviously going to have a knock-on effect that people unsubscribe from that channel, regardless of whether or not he has control of it at the moment. He's losing subscribers hand over fist. Now, obviously, you can, as Martin kind of has, just resign yourself to, I've lost my channel, there's nothing I can do about it. But there is, obviously this is a YouTube platform, and there's con artists out there that are trying under their name to con people out of their channels, their hard work. So Ranty discussed it with Martin while I was with the both of them at the conference, and said I'll do an appeal. I'll ask people to address this issue, and the way to address it is to let them know that it's an issue, because they may not even know. There's millions of YouTube channels. So Ranty's, well, this is where you take over, Ranty, rather than me preempting anymore. Tell us what you did last night.
So I just did what would I call it? It was a tweetathon. So it was a Martin leaked the tweetathon. So I basically just said everybody needs to tweet. I think it was Team YouTube at Team YouTube on Twitter, and just explain. Give them a link to the channel and tell them that it's a stolen account and that the rightful owner has been in contact with them and they need to sort it out. I think at the minute he's lost 9 or even 10,000 subscribers from his 30. So he's lost a third of his audience already. And the main thing is that's the people that are actually active on YouTube right now. So, because obviously seeing all these things come through on the feeds. So they unsubscribe. And so the 20 that's left are probably people that subscribed to him a year ago, or 2 years ago, and don't watch his stuff anymore. So it's really bad. And YouTube have taken the time. They said they'd have it fixed in 24 to 48 hours last week. Or start of this week, or whichever it was. No, and start of last week. But they haven't. So they've literally just left it, and the channel's been suffering. Essentially, like you say, it's like a poisoned well now. I don't know whether it's even worth him getting it back, but we can still try. On the plus side, Tim Osman has all his videos from day one. He's got every single one of them. Now, I got in touch with Tim Osman this morning, and he said to me he's willing to trade them over, if you pay for the shipping and stuff. And then he came back to me and he said, actually, have you got a server that you can upload it to? So it's uploaded to a server. You might know him, William Genks. So on William Genks, he's given him access to a very small portion of his server, and he's uploading currently all the videos to that. So there will be a backup, and it also means going forward that Martin can perhaps do 4 or 5 premieres every day now on his new channel. It's Flat Earth British. That's the channel name. I think you can find the link on my channel, last video that I did. And also, with him having these 4 or 5 premieres, it'll give a chance for his new audience to see the stuff he was doing 2 years ago. So it'll breathe new life into the old stuff as well. So it could be a positive thing going forward. That's what I'm hoping.
So what's the deal with Tim Osman? I saw that Tim Osman piece that he said he'd got an auto downloader on loads of people's channels. So what's the deal there then?
So he has a mega setup, doesn't he, with lots of different hard drives and PCs and all this kind of stuff. So essentially, anytime anyone uploads a video, it automatically starts downloading it, filming it, recording
That's not what I mean.
Immediately.
No, I understand the process. What's in it for Tim Osman?
Nothing. There's nothing in it for him personally, because all he said to me was that, look, he might not agree on the shape of the Earth, right? But at the end of the day, he disagrees.
I've lost Ranty for a second there.
Hello?
Yeah, you're there. You're back.
Yeah. So he said he might not agree on the shape of the Earth, but one thing he doesn't agree with is people stealing other people's shit and stealing their channels and stuff like that. He's absolutely dead against that. So as a mark of respect towards Martin, he's willing to transfer all the videos over, give him all his data back, all his old videos, and Martin can start afresh.
Yeah, I heard him offer that. I didn't know how genuine he was, which is why I didn't comment on it. But if that is the case, I know Tim got fucked over as well in a major way. He lost a channel, and I can't remember at the time if I said this or not, but I'll say it now, even if I didn't. That is the same. With a YouTube hat on, you go, that's really annoying. It doesn't matter whether or not we disagree on the shape of the Earth or the nature of reality. He's a YouTuber, a fellow YouTuber. Same with Fight the Flat Earth, same with Sean Hufford, same with anyone who's out there producing YouTube videos. We're all on the same side in that regard. And the people who go out there as YouTubers to screw other YouTubers over, in my opinion, is disgraceful. And if Tim and I see eye to eye on that, I can only tip my hat to Tim Osman in that regard. It seemed like an offer too kind to be true. However, if that is the case, then my hat is off to Tim Osman in that regard. Good on you.
Yeah, and I think going forward as well, all these new subscribers that join the Flat Earth British channel will be tuning into all the videos that he uploads. And if he starts from day one, from his original videos, and does a set time each week, a couple of days a week, where he does an actual new live stream, he'll get to show all this stuff to his whole new audience from day one. Because trying to go through 2,000 videos or 1,500 videos, which he had, nobody does that. You know, they just watch the current stuff. So it'll breathe fresh life into his channel. It might even actually, if you can get his channel monetized, you know, get him a few extra coin, you know, with all these old videos that he can re-upload and re-monetize.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, every cloud's got a silver lining, but at the same token, I just hope that he retains his old channel before too much damage is done, and then the people who've simply unsubscribed because they don't want their feed of subs filled with spam, that was a bit of a mouthful, will just resubscribe to him. As you say, they will be the people who are keeping up to date with their feeds and don't want that crap in their feed when it's a video being uploaded every 60 seconds or whatever they were. So in that respect, I know that's stopped now thanks to your tweeting. I saw your update, so that might be easy
but it's back on now.
Oh, really?
They started doing it again now.
Oh,
yeah.
My God.
Yeah, they did. They stopped for like 6 hours, and as soon as I put my status, changed my status, within like 5 minutes they started going up again.
So YouTube have done, I think. So it seems like I told my wife, and I was like, oh well, there's still a glimmer of hope, but it seems like maybe not.
Well, every silver lining, let's hope. You know, as a community, we can come together. And you know, Tim Osman's very generous thing that he's done has to be said for a globe earther to do that. And he's you know, he has his doubters and he has his people that are against him. But when it comes down to stuff like this, you know, he's shown himself to be above everyone else.
Yeah, very decent of him. I mean, I just hope that doesn't end up blowing up in Martin's face, and I'm sure Tim Osman would appreciate my scepticism in this regard, given who he is. Nevertheless, on the surface, or on face value, you know, kudos to Tim Osman.
Nothing I've seen Tim Osman call out even people on his own side doing dumb shit. You know, Glober's on his own side, just acting ridiculous and doing ridiculous things. So I've seen him call them out. So like this actually in some way doesn't surprise me. So, I mean, hopefully it turns out to be good and good shit, Tim. It's not being, you know.
I agree. You know, Tim Osman is a sociopath, but by the same token, he does seem to at least have some mild demonstrations of empathy occasionally on show for people. Now, I don't know his motivation. I'd love to know it. You know, I say with a wry smile, what's in it for Tim? Nothing? Oh, really? Doesn't sound like the Tim Osman I know. Nevertheless, you know, maybe he has genuinely turned over a new leaf. He's given, I've got to be honest, at least half a dozen examples of being a normal, decent human being in the last 12 months alone. So, you know, as much as the guy's a prick, he admits to being a troll and being of a troll-like disposition. So he's at least disclaimed what he is, but, you know, you're engaging with that troll by acquiring this information from him. So I wonder what that will cost further down the line. We don't know. We will find out, though, I'm sure. Maybe nothing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too cynical. Notice nobody retracted that shout out. Very interesting.
Oh, okay.
No, don't retract that shout out. You know, Tim Osman does deserve it. In this instance, alone.
Sorry, I don't like shouting anyone out, basically admitting they're a troll. It's behavior, yeah, despite the honesty, that should just never be encouraged in any way, in my opinion.
Well, that's just his disclaimer to get away with doing stuff, but, you know, his gripe on that same stream, and he said the same thing multiple times, was after attacking Fight the Flat Earth and a few others, his channel was raided with, you know, I don't know, whatever the strikes they used. I'm not Tim Osman, so I don't know the nitty-gritty of what they actually did. But according to him, and this is just hearsay, because as far as I'm concerned, you don't get to find out the individual who has done this to you. But according to him, they were saying they were going to do it, then it happened. And his gripe is that there's, you know, information on his channel, again, this is a contradiction I'll get to in a moment, that has been lost, unlike Martin, who he has backed up. Anyway, he's lost this information because they've attacked his channel. And again, whether or not I've said it in the past or not is irrelevant. That's not what should be happening amongst YouTubers. Shouldn't be going after some YouTuber.
Right, I didn't know about that. I agree.
Well, he lost his channel. You know, he's put work into that channel. I know he's not interested in financial gain, but it's still his work, regardless of what his motivation is. And if it's not financial, it doesn't mean that his work is worth any less. It's still his stuff. It's his property. So for someone to just come along and go, I'm going to fuck you right over because you've pissed me off by attacking something that I've done incorrectly by way of video, something I positively encourage people like Slice Barcane, who were formerly chat trolls of mine, to go out and do. Just make a video about it. You know, put the effort in that I'm putting in to make a video. Something that Fight the Flat Earth and Tim Osman and various other people do actually do. They're prepared to put in the YouTube work. And for that, I commend them. It's like, well, good for you, brother. You're on my side. You're a YouTuber. You know the struggle. You know what it's all about, right? So to see these people, according to Tim Osman, saying, and then it seems, at least to him, implementing an attack on his channel for the sole purpose of getting rid of him and shutting him up, it's like, well, why? You're saying you can't cope with people disagreeing with you. Because in that instance, Tim was disagreeing with them. Now, they're not on his side. In the same way I say I don't have a side with Flat Earthers, he says exactly the same about Globe. I'm not on your side. You're just another person talking shit on the internet, as far as I'm concerned. The fact that you might believe it's a globe and I might believe it's a globe doesn't mean I'm going to align with you if you talk nonsense. And I have the same attitude with Flat Earthers. So, you know, there are certain things that Tim and I see eye to eye on in terms of his attitude towards other people. And his expression of that on the internet shouldn't be fucked with. But it is. And it's like, well, these people are pricks. You can't win, so you'll go after someone's channel. George Netanyahu's just as bad. You can't win an argument, so you go after their job. It's scum.
I agree. Now, my overall strategy against people I completely disagree with is just ignore them, and if you can, literally don't even just forget they exist. Hopefully they'll go away. But not attack their channel. It's just it's gonna have a Streisand effect anyway, or not that, but just you know what I mean, right?
No, I think you're right. Streisand effect to a certain degree. If word gets around that somebody's so controversial that they've had the channel removed, then yeah, that might have the Streisand effect. In other words, it's not going to shut the person up. They're trying to hide the information or them pointing out they're wrong. It's if you know Tim Osman's just going to start up on a different channel and talk about it even more, potentially to a greater audience who are then intrigued to find out why someone went to such efforts. If it's true at all, as I say, as far as I'm concerned, you don't get to find out if it's a copyright strike or a community guideline. You don't find out who's done that. You just get the strike from YouTube. You've broken our rules. How they've been informed of that breaking of the rules is irrelevant. But as far as he's concerned, they've voiced the fact that they were going to do it, then it happened. So you're only going to put two and two together, but I'm not going to put that out there as though it's absolute fact when I have the same discussions with Anthony. You know, he claimed Brenda had attacked him. I'm like, prove it. Well, it makes sense. She said blah, blah. I don't care. That doesn't prove it. You know, and it never will. But by the same token, you know, he's got enough circumstantial evidence for me to parrot at least his sentiment in this regard and say, irrelevant of who has gone around doing this, it's not the kind of behaviour I ever want to endorse with a YouTube hat on. It doesn't matter how long I can spend arguing with Tim Osman about the nature of reality. I'm not going to attack his YouTube channel. Why the hell would I? And if I don't, and this is your point, sorry, I was off on a tangent there. Arwin's point is, you've got a little button called unsubscribe. You know what Tim Osman's got to say? I'm subscribed to Tim Osman. If it ever reaches a point that I go, I'm sick of this idiot, I'll just unsubscribe from him. And that'll be the end of it. I'll never watch another thing he does.
Right.
Crazy part is I've heard Tim Osman speak about other subjects and other, like, quote-unquote conspiracy topics. And I'm pretty much in agreement with him on a lot of these things, except the shape of the earth. I mean, it's the only thing that, you know, obviously we don't agree on, but his stance on various other topics, like, I actually can see where he's coming from. I agree with some of them, you know, but the shape of the earth, you know, that's where that gets cut off.
Right. And the same can be true of other people that get labelled trolls. You know, I see a lot of, or at least I did when he was more prevalent on YouTube, when JLB would cover how people treat him in terms of their attitudes towards him, and he's been called a shill and a plant and a troll and an agent and all this nonsense. And he and I, again, we wouldn't see eye to eye in terms of the nature of reality. He has a very different view. So what? Does it mean that I don't like the rest of his stuff that he talks about, or don't disagree with him on a lot of other things? Well, no, it doesn't mean disagreeing wouldn't give me any more or less entertainment value either. You know, not agreeing with someone is often a cause to watch. And a good chunk of the audience who watch this show are watching because they don't agree. You know, but does that mean that they want to remove the fact that they don't agree? It's like, if it displeases you so much, like Arwin says, unsubscribe. Don't go after the channel owner and set their house on fire. That's ludicrous.
Yep.
Don't unsubscribe though. Subscribe
Right.
today.
And at the same time, at the same time, there's also YouTubers out there that go specifically with this and try to get in the face of bigger channels and try to get them to attack them specifically because of this. So they have like, oh, they can play a victim and kind of basically scavenge for audience at the same time. So, but yeah, nobody likes those channels anyway. We all know who they are.
So Riley submitted his paper.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
Right, it's about that time, Ranty. So, over on Ranty Flat Earth, starting in, let's have a look, about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes time. Is it chit chat or roundtable?
It's going to be, let me see, it's probably going to be a mix, I would say. I want to address the Sun newspaper, and I want to have a debate. So, yeah, it's kind of how to title it. I'll probably title it a chit chat, but it'll be half and half.
Cool. So I will stick the link in the chat stream if you're watching on Nathan Oakley. But with that, I'll say again a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Tune into Ranty Flat Earth right now to watch the chit chat / Ranty roundtable on Ranty Flat Earth channel. Be here or be sphere. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!